If you're looking at OLED gaming monitors right now, burn-in is probably the only thing stopping you, and that fear is either costing you or saving you, depending on how you use your monitor. I've been on a 480Hz OLED monitor for almost 2 years, 4,400 hours, editing, gaming every day on the same panel. And in this video I'll show you what it looks like, what the real test data says, and at the end the one OLED trade-off for competitive that almost no one talks about. This is my panel right now. I'm showing you gray fields, solid colors. These are the test backgrounds that show any kind of uneven wear right away. And after like almost 2 years of heavy use, there is no visible burn-in on this panel. Now you don't have to take my word for it, this is my result, my monitor, my usage. I wasn't doing the same thing for 8 hours straight every day, my use was mixed. And the built-in OLED care stuff was on the whole time. Now does it mean that every OLED is going to be fine? No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is what happened on my panel lines up with what independent testers found when they ran these panels way harder than I ever did. And before we get to the data, quick context so the numbers make sense. OLED pixels are made of organic material. They don't break down because of time, they break down based on how hard you push them. The more power going through a pixel, the faster it wears out. And at the chemistry level, blue pixels are the weakest. But of course, in real testing, it's not always blue that goes out first. On some qd-oled panels, green pixels wore out the most because of how the panel converts light. So it of course depends a lot on your specific panel. Okay, so here is what the testers found out. Now monitor unboxer ran a worst case test on purpose on a MSI qd-oled panel. 8+ hours a day of static desktop use at 200 nits. And they turned off every burn-in protection on purpose. And at around 4500 hours, they could see somewhere but called it not drastic. At 5000 hours, first real brightness drop, about 2%. It went from 243 nits to 238 nits. An actual burn-in like taskbars and other stuff visible on the screen that didn't show up until like past 6500 hours. Next I look at Optimum Tech. He tested an LG monitor, a OLED panel for over 3000 hours across 2 years. He used it for Overwatch, editing in DaVinci Resolve, 3D work in Fusion 360. After about like 400 hours of Overwatch, he found faint retention from the hell part, but you could only see it in gray test background. And the important part, that retention came from one game with the same HUD in the same spot for hundreds of hours. It was not from editing, not from normal use. Then there's also ARFings. They ran 3 OLED monitors 24/7 for close to 3 years as part of their big 100 panel longevity test. Now the panels did reach a point where burn-in showed on test slides, but the monitors were still fully working and held up better than most OLED TVs in the same test. So we have 3 independent testers, different panels, qd-oled, OLED, different methods. Under normal use with default protection on, it takes thousands of hours of deliberate worst case abuse for burn-in to show up. And a big reason for that is what these monitors are doing for you in the background without you doing anything. Now on my ASUS and most OLED gaming monitors right now, there's a bunch of stuff running on by default. You don't even have to set it up, you don't turn it on, it's just on. For example, taskbar detection dims the taskbar area on its own. Logo detection sees static logos and lowers their brightness. Auto screen dimming kicks in when it doesn't see any activity. And pixel shift moves the whole image by a tiny bit so the same pixels aren't showing the same thing non-stop. So now burn-in for normal use, it's handled. But now the real question for competitive gamers, OLED or TN? Now this is not a simple answer. At similar refresh rates, 480Hz OLED versus 500Hz or 540Hz TN, the time it takes for your input to show up on screen is basically the same. Where OLED pulls ahead is how fast the pixels themselves change color. OLED does that almost instantly. TN takes about 1 millisecond, but that's pixel response time, not the same thing as input lag. Now if you only play competitive shooters, CS2, Valorant, that's all you do, TN saves you money and gives you the same competitive performance. Now if you do anything else besides competitive, editing, movies, other games, OLED wins everywhere. Better contrast, faster response, better HDR, basically better at everything you can think about. And one more thing, some people think OLED always has the best motion clarity, which is not exactly. On my monitor, ELMB, which is ASUS version of black frame insertion, works at 240Hz with DSC disabled. But at 480Hz there is no BFI at all, so at max refresh rate there is no strobing. A 540Hz TN panel with the DIAC or ULMB2 can strobe at full speed, and moving objects look sharper because of it. But to be honest, 480Hz without BFI still feels better in my opinion than 240Hz with LMB. So you can rest assured this is not something that will make you lose ELO if you don't have it enabled. Now if burn-in isn't the real issue with OLED for competitive, what is? Because there is one thing that almost no one talks about. So here is the deal. My monitor runs at 1440p resolution at 480Hz through a DisplayPort 1.4. Now the problem is pushing that many pixels at that speed takes more data than the cable can handle on its own. So the monitor compresses the image using something called DSC, Display Stream Compression. It's an industry standard from VESA. It squeezes the signal down so it feeds through the cable basically. But here's the catch. On Nvidia's GPU older than the RTX 5000 series, basically everything from the 4000 series and below, DSC turns off hardware feature called MPO. That stands stands for multiplane overlay. So why does MPO even matter? Because Windows uses MPO to let your game talk directly to the screen. It's the fastest way to get frames from your GPU to your monitor, same speed as the old full screen exclusive mode. Now when MPO is off, Windows keeps its own compositor in the middle, that's called compose flip, and compose flipped adds delay. I'm not going to give a specific number because it changes depending on the game to game and the engine and a bunch of other things, but independent flip is as fast as it gets. And this is confirmed by a lot of people using a tool called present mode. Now one user with 1440p 480Hz monitor on an RTX 4000 series GPU checked present mode and it showed up compose flip. He turned off DSC, instantly switched to independent flip. Another user confirmed the same thing. On older cards the DSC processing is so heavy it eats up the GPU internal display heads, leaving no resources left for MPO. And don't assume DX12 games are safe from this. People say DX12 always run on independent flip. Now DX12 does use a faster frame delivery method by default, but that's a separate thing from MPO. If DSC killed MPO and anything pops up on your screen, a volume bar, a Discord message, anything, Windows has to step back and compose the frame. And if you want to check and test this yourself, download present mode and check if you get independent flip or compose flip with DSC on or off. Now the good news, on RTX 5000 series GPU, this seems to be fixed. If you have like a kidney to spare, you can also get the RTX. And I want to be even more clear about this, DSC isn't an OLED problem in general. It's a bandwidth problem that happens specifically on high refresh rate OLED monitors running above 1080p. So let's say your 1440p or 4K OLED at 480Hz needs DSC because the signal is too large to fit through a DP 1.4 cable uncompressed. If you're, let's say, on a 1080p display at any refresh rate or a 1440p OLED at 240Hz or below, DSC is not your problem. This only affects you if you're running a high resolution OLED at high refresh rates on a DP 1.4, which is exactly the setup most competitive OLED gamers have right now. Now, if we look even further ahead, there's a newer cable standard called DP 2.1 that has enough bandwidth for 1440p at 480Hz without any compression at all. No DSC need. Now, RTX 5000 supports it, but the monitor needs to support the full UHBR20 speed 2. And that's important because some monitors that say DP 2.1 on the box only run at UHBR 13.5, which is not fast enough to drop DSC at 480Hz. So check the actual spec, not just the label. And here's the irony. The thing most gamers are afraid of with OLED is burning. But a thing that actually affects how your game performs right now is the signal processing issue that has nothing to do with the panel itself. So should gamers be afraid of OLED burn-in? Based on my 4000 hours of testing and what every major independent test shows, no. And here is how I'd break it down. If you play competitive shooters and nothing else and you want to save money, get the TN panel. It's cheaper, same competitive performance at high refresh rates, no burn-in risk. No DSC issue, it's pretty simple. If you use your monitor for more than competitive, gaming plus editing plus movies plus anything else, just get like an OLED. Better at basically everything. Now if you want OLED for competitive but you're on a GPU older than like RTX 5000 series, know that the DSC thing is there. Now that's it, go watch other tests, read the data yourself, check out their videos. If I got something wrong, comments are right here. We're all learning basically, I'm not perfect. And if you want to learn more about monitors or gaming peripherals, check out the next video.